Without a doubt. Speaking of Diana being on stream, I believe our players are ready so we can jump over to the championship table. Of course, just a reminder, this is top 4. Winner goes on to finals, of course. However, all the trainers that we've seen today in top 8 have performed exceptionally well throughout this weekend to make it through 121 trainers throughout Swiss and then bringing here today for top 8.
They have, and we see Diana's team right there on screen. James actually has a very similar team. James is going with Kangaskhan, Bronzong, Salamence, Thundurus, Groudon, and Kyogre. So you'll notice a whole lot of similar Pokemon and a whole lot of similar styles. They both have the Trick Room mode. They both have the Thundurus kind of paralyzing mode. So this should be a really interesting match. It's going to come down a lot to predictions since they have such similar teams. For sure. It's going to be exactly how both players decide to use those chess pieces, as James is very strongly holding his king up. Now, I have a quick question. Salamence is part of the Big Six, correct? Yep. Okay, and Kangaskhan is not. Kangaskhan is kind of as well. Yeah, that's what I mean. So they're both Big Six. Okay, that's what I figured. So one of them is just choosing, they're choosing their megas respectively, but both out of the Big Six. And we're going to see that Diana actually leads something that I don't believe we've seen yet on stream, leading both primals. Both Groudon and Kyogre were sent out from her side. We're going to see, of course, Groudon is going to revert first, which means that they're going to be sitting in the rain, which is definitely the way to train your team to make sure that the rain is up, because as we've discussed a lot this weekend, Groudon can operate in the rain. It can, it doesn't, but if Bronzong has Levitate, it's not like Groudon will be able to do anything to it. That's very true. That's very true in this matchup. And we're going to see, of course, Primordial Sea comes out, and James led with the Bronzong and the Kangaskhan, so fake out pressure is there. Now, I would say this would be a really good opportunity to get up Trick Room because, like I said, Groudon doesn't threaten Bronzong at all since the rain is up. However, Diana is also using a Trick Room team. Do you really want to set up Trick Room for what might actually help Diana? Yeah, I don't know if you want to do that if you're James. Super tough call to decide, but we're going to see that James is going to opt to Mega Evolve here. Really no reason not to. The question is he going to go for Fake Out Pressure? Does he have something else in mind? We're going to see that Groudon goes for the Precipice Blades. We see the Levitate on Bronzong, so if Diana had any doubts whether it was going to be Levitate or not, she now knows. Kangaskhan is going to take a huge amount of damage as Kangaskhan goes for a return, fires it off into the Kyogre. Definitely the smarter choice, considering that Bronzong is safe from that Groudon. We're going to see Kyogre, though, go for the Water Spout. After taking all that damage, it's going to be reduced, but is it going to be enough? It is going to be enough to take out the Kangaskhan and score a critical hit on both Pokemon. Oh my goodness, what a way to start off Diana's turn, and Trick Room is going to get set up. Okay, well, since this is Game 1, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. A lot of Game 1 is about getting information, especially in a mirror match that relies so heavily on speed. James getting a lot of information this game. Even if he loses, it could lead to victories in Games 2 and 3. And even if he might even win this game, Trick Room might actually end up helping him. You got to consider it like a 50-50 almost, whether it helps him or helps her more. But he decided to go with it, and I don't think that's a bad play at all. Yeah, I don't think it's a bad play, especially because, I mean, we've seen James in top 8. He was relying on that Hypnosis, and this might be one of those turns. Now that the sun is up, obviously his Bronzong's in a little bit of danger, not to mention that Groudon on his side of the field will also take super effective damage from his opponent's Groudon. So does he go for the Hypnosis, try to put that Groudon to sleep, and then take out the remaining HP of Kyogre, or maybe predict a switch on that? It's going to be tough. This is risky. I wouldn't go for the Kyogre at all since it's not threatening here whatsoever. We'll see what he switches Bronzong into. He's going to switch out the Bronzong, so not wanting to risk any sort of Hypnosis shenanigans. Goes out into Kyogre to get rid of that rain, get rid of that sun and bring the rain, which means that most likely we're going to see a Precipice Blades or something of that nature from his Groudon. Obviously not a Fire-type move. And we had discussed, Ray, I think it was Ray and I, or Dwayne and I had discussed that you have to be very careful with how you use your primals, but I think this is one of the first times we're seeing both double primal cores on the field at the same time. We're going to see Not for long, no. Not for long. So we had that one split moment of being able to see all 4 of these beasts on the field, but Diana's going to withdraw her her Kyogre out into the Ferrothorn, which is a pretty solid play. Ferrothorn is a very defensive Pokemon, going to take this Precipice Blade somewhat well. Groudon's going to take a huge amount of damage from it, though, and going to fire off its own Precipice Blades. It's going to connect on both of James's Pokemon. He does not look happy about that. Going to dish out some huge damage to Groudon and a sizable amount to Kyogre. Yeah, this is really good for Diana because now she's benefiting from the Trick Room with this Ferrothorn. Threatens a KO on Kyogre with Power Whip. Of course, Kyogre can protect or switch out, but maybe it goes for a Power Whip on Groudon. It might KO. It depends how this Ferrothorn's trained. Yeah, and we have to take note that James's Groudon did move before Diana's under the Trick Room, so either it could have been a slow speed tie or James's is actually trained to be slower. Yeah, I don't know if James wants to let his Kyogre attack. I think either a Protect or a Switch. That's the safer play. Maybe he predicts that Power Whip onto Groudon. No,
maybe
he's going to play safe and switch.
We're going to find out. Maybe he went for a Protect on that Groudon as well in case the power was going either way. We're going to see Bronzong does come in for the stead of Kyogre. Groudon is also Groudon's going to switch out on Diana's side of the field into the Kyogre, so setting that rain back up.
Yeah, that's actually really good because James brought out the Kyogre. You know, maybe he went for a fire move, but now that's going to be countered.
Definitely, we're going to see the Ferrothorn does go for the Power Whip, targeting down the Groudon. Beautiful play. Gonna pick up the knockout on Groudon. Fantastic decision by Diana in this game 1.
Yeah, really smart move there by Diana, knowing that the Kyogre not likely to stay in and attack, more likely to switch or protect. So going for the Power Whip on Groudon, great play.
Without a doubt, we're going to see the Kyogre does come back out. The rain is already here, but Diana up 2-4 right now in an incredible position with Trick Room having, I believe, one more turn remaining. Ferrothorn is threatening that Kyogre, going to force most likely a Protect, but then Bronzong is going to be left out there for Kyogre to take advantage of.
Looks like James...
There, wow!
He doesn't want to give away any more info, so goes for the forfeit rather than maybe giving Diana more knowledge on how fast his Kyogre is compared to hers. But at the same time, now he's not going to get any more information on her Kyogre. So
yeah.
He'd rather play in a situation where neither player has the full amount of knowledge rather than both players having the full amount of knowledge.
I can get behind that a little bit for sure. I think something James is going to have to consider in this game too is the effect that Trick Room has, especially with the Ferrothorn being on Diana's team. Like, that's the huge checkmate on Diana's team.
It really is. So she's going to have to keep bringing that Ferrothorn. I think she knows that it's key in this match, just countering the Kyogre under Trick Room really hard. And even Groudon, if it gets low enough, we saw that Power Whip do a lot of damage. It can take Precipice Blades pretty well, and if the rain's up, it has nothing to fear for like a Fire Punch or Eruption or anything like that.
Definitely, we're going to see James switches things up in Game 2. Going to lead with the Thundurus and the Salamence, as Diana also leads with the Salamence. Groudon, so before she had led with her Primal Core, which I thought was really, really cool, but now we're going to see both players trade Intimidates. James has a little bit of speed control pressure right here with the Thunder Wave potential.
I like this. I think James wants to get away from that Trick Room mode since it's more of a coin flip, and it helps Diana. So committing fully to this kind of outside of Trick Room mode with Thundurus, it gives him a way to counter Diana if she goes for a Trick Room or maybe her own Thundurus with Thunder Wave. And then if she does go for the Trick Room mode, James is in a great spot there with the taunt from Thundurus and then Thunder Wave when Trick Room isn't up. So I like this adaptation, but Diana looks like she may have read that since she's starting with Salamence.
Yeah, deciding not to lead the same way she did before. And Salamence is a really strong lead on both players' part because they trade Intimidates. Salamence, like we said before, is one of the big six. Super hyper offensive Pokemon, fast and wants to hit hard. But we're going to see that Diana actually decides to withdraw her Salamence, got her Intimidated off. She's happy with that, maybe predicting a Dragon-type move into that slot, going out into her defensive Ferrothorn as James's Salamence is going to Mega Evolve. I'm not sure if we've seen James's Salamence go for the Draco Meteor. I know it's been a pretty long weekend and we've seen a lot of things, but I don't think his has shown it at all. We're going to see Thundurus go for the Thunderbolt into that slot, resisting that hit. Beautiful way to take damage. We have Hyper Voice from Salamence coming out. It's neutral on Ferrothorn. Going to do a good amount to both of Diana's Pokemon. We're going to see a Rock Slide miss the Salamence, which is unfortunate for Diana, but it is going to connect on the Thunder. It's going to do a great amount of damage. Are we going to see that Citrus? We are not going to see that Citrus. James is not carrying that.
Yep, Diana can assume it's a fast, offensive, probably Focus Sash Thundurus after not seeing the Citrus Berry because there's not many other items that Thundurus decide to go for. But that Ferrothorn switch was definitely really good here. And getting that damage off, even though the Rock Slide missed Salamence, getting that off on Thundurus to kind of threaten a KO now with another Rock Slide could be good.
Yeah, and I think James doesn't want to see the Thundurus go down, so he's going to opt to go for a Protect, as Ferrothorn also goes for a Protect on that side of the field. We saw that it has leftover, so getting another turn of recovery is always nice. We're going to see the Hyper Voice come out from Salamence, connect on the Groudon, but it shouldn't be enough to do the knockout. It's just going to barely live as Rock Slide it's going to connect on the Salamence. How much damage is going to do? I believe it's going to do a little over half. Oh, wow, no. The Intimidate from turn 1 really coming into play for James's Salamence.
I think James is feeling good here because he threatens a KO on Groudon with Salamence, and he hasn't lost any Pokemon yet. He's only lost damage on his non-restricted Pokemon, so being able to take out Groudon, which is so crucial in this dual primal matchup, if Groudon protects, so he's not going to take it out this turn, but
he's still going to get sizable damage off on the Ferrothorn, potentially doubling into that slot, trying to pick up the knockout. He is going to double into that slot, reading the Protect, but it's not going to be enough. Are we going to see a Gyro Ball from... Oh, we see the Paralyze, which is actually going to help out the Gyro Ball. If it breaks through, it does break through. I can't imagine that Salamence surviving this thanks to the power. It's a crit! Oh, my goodness!
Well, forget what I just said. It's turning around for Diana pretty quickly with that critical hit gyro ball.
Man, that the crit definitely mattered. The para didn't hurt either. I don't know. Do you think even with the para?
Salmons has, well, Mega Salmons has really high defense, so I think it would have survived that. But then, on the other hand, James getting a free switch into Kyogre here. Groudon and Furthorn are extremely low, so he lost his Salmons, but he did so much to the Furthorn and Groudon. Those are big counters to Kyogre. Well, if Groudon has the Sun Up, it's a big counter to Kyogre, but James isn't in that bad a position, even though he's down 4-3.
Yeah, not at all, especially because there's no Trick Room active. It'd be really hard for Diana to pull off some sort of Trick Room shenanigans, not to mention that Ferrothorn is paralyzed at this point, so the 25% chance to be fully paralyzed, even if she manages to get Trick Room up, is going to be something to consider. We're going to see Ferrothorn go for that Protect. I'm pretty sure that we're going to see Thundurus go for the hidden power on that Groudon. Is it? I want to see if it's super effective. Is that? It's super effective. That was most likely Hidden Power Water in the rain, which I love to see in this format. Origin Pulse, of course, is going to get protected, and Diana has a free switch into her next Pokemon.
Yeah, James is in a good spot here, though. Taking out that Groudon, of course, good. There's no threat of it coming back in and turning off the rain. Furthorn is low enough where a rain-boosted Origin Pulse would pick up the KO. So here is what... So they did not play out the match last game, so they don't know yet how their Kyogre speed compares. Yeah, no, it's gonna be kind of a all or break. This is like the hinge turn, because if Diana's Kyogre goes first, obviously she's in a much better position. But no matter what, that Thundurus is gonna be the fastest thing on the field. Gonna be able to dish out a Thunderbolt. Yeah, it'll do a lot of damage to Kyogre. I think even if Diana's Kyogre is faster, James is still in a great position.
Definitely, thanks to how low Ferrothorn is.
Right, simply because Origin Pulse would knock it out from here, but he's going to switch it out. That's a lot safer, I think, just in case maybe Diana's Kyogre had Thunder, or maybe it gets a critical hit or paralyze it or something. I think this is a lot safer. Yeah, definitely. Going for the safer play is not a problem, especially when you're in the commanding position. When the tempo's in your favor, that's when it's better to play safer than if you're behind. That's what we were talking about before. If a trainer's behind and they choose to continue to play safe, usually the match will slip away. But that was a fine turn for James. He's going to protect with Thundurus as well. So pretty much, if you didn't target down that Kyogre slot with the right move, you're not going to get anything off this time around. We're going to see a Power Whip into the Groudon. We get to see from full HP how much this does. It does 55 HP, so nothing terrible. It's a sizable amount to take away from a Primal Groudon. It is slowly healing back up with the leftovers, though, so if it does get into a situation later in the game where it's against the Kyogre, these extra turns might help it survive an Origin Pulse. But right now, that's far away, because right now James is in a great spot here with the Groudon, and Diana's going to have to switch something out here. Yeah, she's going to switch out her Ferrothorn into the Salamence. James looks really happy about that switch, though. We're going to see, of course, the Intimidate come into play. Intimidating both the Thundurus and the Groudon, of course, not really mattering too much for that Thundurus. We're going to see Thundurus go for the Thunder Wave on that slot. The hardest of reads. The hardest of reads, not doubting himself, which is what you need to do when you're down a game. We're going to see Swords Dance from Groudon here, knowing that it's pretty safe in the sun. Of course, an Ice Beam could still come out into that slot, but it looks like Diana went ahead and targeted down the Thundurus. But like we said yesterday, if Thundurus gets to paralyze a Pokemon, it did its job, and it just paralyzed a full HP Salamence. Yeah, James is in a commanding spot here. Getting Salamence paralyzed, since Groudon is not naturally faster than it, that's going to be huge, and it's at +2 attack. He is bringing the rain for the enemy Kyogre, but it can't even survive a Precipice Blades. At this point, yeah, of course, if it misses. If it misses, the miss is always possible. That turn was incredible, because had Diana, I don't know, it just would have been so hard to make that read. Power Whip into the Groudon and Ice Beam into the Groudon, it might have been enough. I think it would have been enough to take out the Groudon, depending on how each Pokemon was trained. We've seen Ice Beam do a good amount. Do we know if James's Groudon is faster than Diana's Kyogre? I think we don't, but we're going to see Diana go for the sounds. I don't think we do. You want to place bets right now? What are you thinking? Think Diana's Kyogre may be faster. We're going to find out right now. We're going to see Groudon go for the Protect. Pretty much, I think I would agree with that suspicion then. We're going to see Groudon protect itself. Kyogre goes for the Ice Beam on James' side. So into that Ferrothorn slot, it's going to pick up the knockout right there. Definitely a safe spot, because it was going to either hit the Salamence or the Ferrothorn. A Scald going into the protecting Groudon on James' side. And Diana's down to her last two Pokemon here. Yeah, it's going to hinge on how fast Diana's Kyogre is, if it's faster than James' Groudon. Yeah, I mean, Salamence obviously being paralyzed is pretty much fish food for Kyogre. Going to be able to go for an Ice Beam and take it out almost no problem. The only problem with that is that
Kyogre, like you said, if Kyogre on Diana's side is faster, we're going to see a 2-0, I believe. We're going to see Salamence go for the Mega Evolution here, because at this point, all the extra stat boosts that you get from Mega Evolving, you want them, even if you're paralyzed. It is definitely still a tough spot for her, though. We're going to see Groudon goes for Pressure Blades, outspeeds. Is it going to connect? It is going to connect. Being only at +1, though, is it going to pick up the knockout? It is not going to pick up the knockout. That is an extremely defensive Kyogre. An Ice Beam into that Salamence slot is going to do all of the damage and knock out that Salamence. But we're going to see a Water Spout into both of James's Pokemon. Is going to be enough. It's going to be enough to pick up the knockout on Groudon easily. And now we're going to see a situation where, does Thunder exist?
Yeah, Thunder is actually not too common on Kyogres nowadays. James is in the lead here, of course, because his Kyogre is both faster and has more HP. And he's got Thunder.
And he's got the Thunder. So even though it's not too common, it's going to pay off dividends right now. Even though he was in the lead, this is just a nice security. We're going to see a Scald from Diana. Let's see if we get a burn. I don't think it's going to matter too much if we do. The crowd wants a burn, though, but we're not going to see one.
That's still good knowledge for Diana, though. Learning that Kyogre has Thunder, learning more of the speeds of these primals and how they relate to each other. It's still good knowledge.
Yeah, it looks like even though James's team is built to work in Trick Room, because he has the Trick Room on his team, it seems as though he decided to train his primals in a way that outspeed other Trick Room primals. Maybe he's just trained them a little bit more.
Since he's got that dual mode, it gives him a little more flexibility, and by doing that, that lets him take what he may choose to go for Trick Room against another team. When he faces more of a mirror match, he can now switch it up and be faster outside of Trick Room. So let's see if Diana goes back to bringing that Bronzong and back to focusing on Trick Room. James actually set the Trick Room up game 1 for Diana, but maybe after losing game 2 outside of Trick Room, maybe she's going to want to bring Bronzong and try and get Trick Room up.
Yeah, I would think so. It's tough, though, because when your opponent can do something for you to help you out, it makes the game a lot easier.
In the mirror match, you want to be the one in control, and when you're it's not wasting, but when you're spending a turn setting up Trick Room while the other person's straight up attacking you,
setting up with the Swords Dance Groudon that we've seen.
Yep.
So it's definitely tricky, but I do think I want to see that Trick Room. I love the fact that we're going to a game 3 again with Diana and James. Like, this is fantastic. This is top 4, of course, and this I feel like this one's going to be really intense. That Thunder Wave too was actually. I appreciate that. Like I said with Dewey yesterday, Thunderous paralyzes something, totally did its job. It's fantastic.
Yep. And that's another option for Diana to bring her own Thunderous. If she doesn't decide to go for a Trick Room mode, she could decide to kind of mirror James's last game and go for her own Thunderous.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind that. I don't know how much I like the Salamence on her side of the field. With Kyogre being around, with Thundurus being around on James's side, it might be better to kind of leave that in the back, even if it's going to be in exchange for her own Thundurus. I think that might be a little bit better of a choice.
Right. The Intimidate helps against Groudon, and of course it's a good Pokemon against Groudon.
Yes.
We'll see if it continues to get broad, though.
Yeah, we'll see that James opens up with the Bronzong and the Kyogre, and Diana goes back to game 1, the dual primal lead, and this is all too familiar, folks. Oh, man.
It's going to take a while to...
Oh, it's going to take a while
until we
actually get to turn 1. We're going to see, of course, the Groudon goes first, which means no matter what, whether it's James's... Or actually, it's going to be James's that actually primal reverts first, because we saw in the last match that he was faster each time. But the rain is still going to be up regardless. Oh, man. Dude, this is going to be something else, because this is looking awfully similar to game 1.
It is, but we know James's Kyogre has Thunder.
That's
going to be big in this situation.
Yeah, for sure. Do you think this is an opportune turn to maybe? Do you even feel Trick Room for James right now? Knowing that his Kyogre's faster,
yeah,
I don't see there would be any point to.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
I could see something along the lines. There's going to be some switching happening here on Diana's side. There has to be.
Yeah, it's a tricky situation here because James's Kyogre threatens Thunder on Diana's Kyogre, but at the same time, we saw it doesn't do a whole lot of damage because of Kyogre's massive special defense, so Diana could get a Scald, or a rain-boosted Scald on that Bronzong, doing a ton of damage. Of course, Groudon is going to have to switch out or protect.
Yeah, no matter what. So I think we're going to see Ferrothorn come in. James looks kind of happy about that for a second.
I think James probably read this and went for the Thunder.
On the Kyogre. Yep, he went for the Thunder. On the Kyogre, it's going to connect. Of course, there's still a chance for a power. We got to find out if that's going to happen. It's a 60% as Kyogre goes for a Water Spout. Unfortunately, after all that damage, it's going to be reduced, not doing too much to either of James's Pokemon. I think a Scald there would have been great. Ferrothorn is going to dodge the Hypnosis. That's the Hypnosis I know. That's the Hypnosis I know, not one that lands outside of gravity.
Well, still a good play for James, even though it missed. He got a bunch of damage off to that Kyogre. Didn't take much in return. He can just bring in Groudon here if he wants. It's a pretty safe switch in.
Yeah, and we're going to see that Diana is going to switch out her Kyogre for a Groudon, but James looks kind of happy about that, so I'm not sure if maybe he switched out his own Kyogre here. We're going to find out in just a second. No, we're going to see Kyogre go for the Thunder on that same slot, so a nice switcher for Diana. A Power Whip is going to come out onto that Kyogre. That's going to be a sizable, that's a knockout. It's a crit. Oh my goodness, Diana with these crits from the Ferrothorn. Ferrothorn proving to be absolutely fantastic. The Trick Room is going up, though.
Yeah, so it's not all bad because assuming James has Groudon, which I'm going to assume he does, the fact that Ferrothorn's slower doesn't mean a whole lot since Groudon's at full HP. It's in no danger to feigning to Power Whip, but we know James' Groudon will move before Diana's Groudon.
Under Trick Room.
However, James's Precipice Blades will not pick up the knockout on Diana's Groudon, and a Precipice Blades from Diana's Groudon plus a Power Whip from Ferrothorn would KO James's Groudon, so I think
that's the play she has to make.
We can expect to see either a Gravity to set up for a Hypnosis next turn with a Protect from James's Groudon, or he might just straight up go for the Hypnosis this turn. I think he has to.
You think he has to do that? Go for the Hypnosis?
Or set up Gravity in preparation for Hypnosis next turn if he decides to protect his Groudon.
I wonder if it's on Diana's mind to maybe Fire Punch that Bronzong because of that fear of Hypnosis, especially under Trick Room with it already being so fast. So
yeah,
that might play into James's decision, maybe wanting to Hypnosis that Groudon, completely avoiding a potential Fire Punch.
Yeah, it definitely could be. But she does have Kyogre in the back, so she might not feel the need to all out on Groudon, just double up into it.
That's true. We're going to see that the Protect is going to grab. The Hypnosis is going to land, and that's going to be on the Groudon 100%. That's exactly what James needed. Maybe it might not be the Gravity for a guaranteed Precipice Blades connection, but honestly, when you can land a Hypnosis on a Groudon, you want to do it.
Oh yeah, and he had 2 shots there since he protected with Groudon that turn. Assuming Diana didn't go for a Fire Punch on Bronzong or anything, he would have had 2 shots at hitting that Hypnosis. Luckily, he gets this one, so he doesn't have to feel pretty nervous about a Hypnosis missing or anything.
Definitely. We're going to see Bronzong now is going to go for the Gravity. So this is feeling like game 2.
Yeah.
He's getting his ducks lined up in a row, doing what he's got to do. Precipice Blades is going to come out right now. It is going to connect on the Groudon. Like you said before, it's not going to be enough to knock it out, but it's going to do a huge amount of damage, leaving it at 10% HP. Groudon wakes up, goes for Precipice Blades, guaranteed to land thanks to Gravity. Going to be able to take out the Bronzong, but is it going to pick up the knockout on the Groudon? It is not. Trick Room is still up, which Groudon is in the same exact range as last time when Power Whip is able to pick up the knockout. That is insane.
Great turn for Diana. Pretty lucky wake up, but hey, Hypnosis and sleep in general, not the most reliable mechanic, so it's not that bad luck of Groudon waking up.
Without a doubt, I think we can expect to see a Protect from James on the Groudon to avoid that Power Whip knockout. And then, I don't know, man.
I don't know.
What are you thinking?
He might leave it in, I think, or let it attack, because we saw in the previous game, Power Whip only did, I think, 55. This looks like it's right on the edge, where it may survive barely.
Oh, you're right. It did do 55. I said that out loud. Dude, oh, man. Oh, I'm nervous now. We're going to see Salamence go for the Mega Evolution here. Oh, my goodness. If we see the Power Whip, and I'm nervous now. I don't want to speak, dude. I just want to watch. I really do. This is insane. Groudon is going to go for the Protect, though. Definitely makes sense, like it said, fearing maybe a crit from the Power Whip. We're going to see the opposing Groudon also go for Protect. I don't know if I agree with that, considering Trick Room's up, and it would have outsped the Salamence. We're going to see a Power Whip go into that protecting Groudon, and then we're going to see a Hyper Voice here, which is going to connect only on the Ferrothorn, doing around 40% again. It's a crit. Actually, I'm sorry. It does 40% with a crit. So we've got some things going on here, dude.
Oh, it's really going to depend on this Power Whip from Ferrothorn. Does it pick up the knockout? Because if it doesn't, James gets off with Precipice Blades. That's a double KO.
Yeah. It's a double KO, but Trick Room's going to reset.
But his Groudon is faster than Diana's Kyogre outside of Trick Room. So when Trick Room ends, he's going to have a fast Salamence and a Groudon that's faster than Diana's Kyogre.
Have we seen Diana's last Pokemon?
We
haven't seen a Thundurus or a Salamence come out yet. Or a Bronzong. I really, for her sake, if she brought the Bronzong, it's going to be pretty rough for her. Then again, she might be able to set up the Trick Room with Kyogre, protect her Kyogre.
Oh, here we go.
We're going to see the Power Up. Is it going to pick up the knockout? It is not. Kyogre's Groudon's going to live on 16 HP and fire off of Precipice Blades. Of course, that's going to connect on both Pokemon, doing a huge amount of damage, knocking out that Groudon, and leaving Ferrothorn as easy pickings for this Mega Salamence's Hyper Voice. Actually, Salamence is going to set up the Tailwind. Not knowing Diana's last Pokemon, I mean, that's a good play.
Yeah, just in case it's Salamence, it's a good play because Ferrothorn outside of Trick Room, I mean, it's got almost no HP left. It's not like, you know, you needed to knock out Ferrothorn this turn. You're perfectly okay getting a Tailwind up here.
Yeah, and we just saw that the Twisted Dimensions did return to normal, so James was keeping excellent track. We're going to see the final Pokemon Diana side is the Salamence.
But Gravity's still up, so Precipice Blades can do a lot to Salamence. Even though it's intimidated and Mega Salamence has pretty high defense, it's still going to do a lot of damage. A Precipice Blades plus whatever James' Salamence goes for. Can it knock out Diana's Salamence?
This feels like anyone's game right now, man. I feel like James has the pieces in place that we were mentioning those pieces, so they just have to get used right. But I think Diana can still bring it back. It's going to be tough. We're going to see that her Salamence is going to Mega Evolve here.
This is a good play, I think. Letting Salamence protect, let Ferrothorn be sacrificed here and go down. Get Kyogre in so she has... well, she's not going to go for it.
She's not going to go for it. I think her mindset is, let me stall out Gravity. Let me get rid of Gravity so that my Salamence can go ahead and survive. But I think I would have agreed with your analysis. But you can continue your thought.
Yeah, right now Ferrothorn is no threat whatsoever. So I think having it faint, get Kyogre in for free alongside Salamence where they're both threats. I think that's the position Diana needed to get in.
Do you think we're going to see that James' Salamence goes for the Hyper Voice, of course. It's going to pick up the knockout on Ferrothorn, and the problem is now is that Precipice Blades is going to be a single target move, and of course with the Tailwind going to move first, going to pick up the knockout, I believe. I mean, it is a defensive Salamence. It's bulky. It's going to survive with 10%.
That's huge.
Going for a Hyper Voice, picking up the knockout on Groudon, and with a Kyogre in the back. Ladies and gentlemen, it's almost safe to say that Diana's going to take this one.
Yep, Diana's going to advance.
This is insane. This is her first regionals.
And she's in the finals.
And she's in the finals. Oh my goodness. I love being able to see that. I love being able to see a trainer come out. It gives me hope.
Well, let's not say that yet.
Oh, wow.
You never know. Hyper Voice, critical hit.
Yes, Hyper Voice, critical hit. You know what? I'm going to be honest. I forgot how low Kyogre was.
I think Kyogre would still take it, but hey, you don't want to call the game over when it's not over.
You're right. You know, I got a little excited. I think we both did because you said Diana's moving on to the final.
Yeah.
I agree with 3-time world champion. 100%. We're going to see a Protect here from the Salamence. Just to go ahead and install that Trick Room, the Tailwind actually. We're going to see Protect from both of Diana's Pokemon. Hyper Voice from Salamence is going to come out. I believe Tailwind is going to have one more turn. Nope, Tailwind is gone, and now it's a speed tie between the Salamences.
Yeah, so James has to win the speed tie, then get a critical hit with the Hyper Voice onto Kyogre, and then hope it KOs.
Okay, we see that he does win the speed tie, lands a Hyper Voice. Is it going to pick up the knockout? It is not going to pick up the knockout. Both players shake hands, and Diana moves on to the finals. James coming in, I believe it's going to be 3rd or 4th. Last year having 2nd place here, so definitely a tough break for him, but it's beautiful to see two trainers just, look at them. They're talking about it, having a good time. You can see how emotional she looks right now, without a doubt.
Yeah, this is her first regional. She's in the finals. I'm sure she's feeling really emotional, especially, I mean, she was emotional yesterday after her win to even advance to the top 8. Now she's making it to the finals. So she must be really, really emotional inside. She must be feeling great.
And it's so cool to see that, man. Like, to just see the effect that this game has on the trainers that are devoting this time to it to play.
You know, she spent so much time practicing. This may be her first regional, but you can bet she's been training either against friends, on Battle Spot, in Global Link tournaments. You know she's been practicing for this.
She's been playing absolutely fantastic this entire weekend when she's been on stream, and that's definitely, like we had said before, being on stream in general, first regionals, being on stream, she's not a new player. This is her first event, but she's not, you can tell by the way she's playing, not a new player. Put in the time, put in the practice, and it's encouraging for other trainers that want to get involved in the Pokemon scene. The barrier to entry is not as grand as it seems. If you just put in the time, there's a lot of resources out there to do so.